When you're looking to make money in the Sorare market, all it really comes down to is trying to work out, is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? On the surface level, that's pretty easy to work out. Is the guy just broke into the team? Is he just got injured? Is a league just onboarded? Very obvious surface level stuff plays a big part in the marketplace. They're very easy to understand and navigate. But once you actually get into the market and you're really trying to reinforce for SO5, or you're trying to get into the market and, you know, flip a coin and turn one into two, that sort of thing, you realize there's a much more multi-dimensional marketplace actually alive there, you know, for different scarcities, positions, regions, all sorts of things happening. And it can be very confusing and overwhelming. So basically what I've got here is a market matrix, which is just going to help you understand exactly what is going on in that multi-dimensional level to help you navigate that as easily as possible to get the best outcome for yourself, whether it is a buyer's market, maybe you're trying to buy stuff, or it's a seller's market, maybe you're trying to sell stuff. Maybe you're trying to buy something and it's actually a seller's market, and maybe you're trying to sell something but it's a buyer's market. How does that work? We'll get into all that today in the video, guys. I've been making content helping people get started with Sorare for the last 2 years, and thankfully the content has helped thousands of people. Down to the support I've had back for you guys, the channel's managed to grow and expand, and we've taken on a studio, and I'm hoping throughout the rest of the year 2022 I can bring you guys the best football, the best Sorare content possible. For the last 2 years, Sorare have been massive fans of the content, and the support they've given us is down to the link in the description of this video. If you haven't opened your account yet, Sorare give all of my viewers a free card for signing up using that link in the description. All you need to do is click the link, sign up directly. Once you've bought 5 from the market, you get a free card from Sorare. You can sell it, you can keep it, you can do whatever you want with it. Huge fans of the channel. Fanatics.com, one of the biggest retailers in the world of sports goods, whether it be NFL, NBA, football, shirts, tracksuits, hoodies, all officially licensed, and they want to support the content, they want to support the channel by giving you guys, the audience, special exclusive discounts to all of these items and many more. If you are going to buy any sportswear this year, then using that link in the description goes directly to supporting the content here at Quinny 3001 and Sorare TV. And I can't thank you enough for your continued support, guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Now, what's at the base of this is the opportunity at hand, okay? The opportunity, what is it? Is it a card you've been scouting? Is it something that's just happened? You know, somebody maybe just got injured, just got a transfer, been promoted from the first keeper, the second keeper to the first keeper, or maybe they've been demoted from first to second. What is the opportunity that's came to your door? Now, this is where your target acquisition and how you identify targets really comes into play, because hopefully the ones that are coming up on your radar are ones that you're already pursuing in some way, shape or form already, and then these events unfold around you and the opportunity shows itself. What I'm always hesitant about is the opportunities that show themselves where you weren't looking for them, with another player that's, I don't really need another forward for that region, or, you know, I've got enough midfielders now, you know, but that guy does look good, you know. That sort of thing. That's really the foundation of all this. That's for the real key part, is the opportunity itself. You know, I prefer ones that are around, that happen around me, rather than ones that you get brought towards, you know, personally. What I'm thinking about is predictable opportunities, you know, like I mentioned already, goalkeeper changes the situation, transfer, injury, all that kind of thing. But also like ones that are based on the information and the opinion that I hold of a card that maybe other people don't, or unless people have access to information about, whatever it may be. Maybe I've watched that guy just way more than anyone else because that's just what I do, you know. But I have had red herrings come at me in the past with like guys that are like the guy at the big team. If it doesn't work out there, where else could he go? It doesn't always work out that great, you know. Sometimes players get too much money. But when these predictable opportunities happen, whatever they are, I like to jump into the one to sell on Discord. If you're not on Discord already, I'll link in the description below the Sorare official Discord, and there's plenty of channels there where you can connect with every manager in the game that has also got Discord and negotiate for cards and trades, that sort of thing. But as soon as one of these opportunities comes up to me, I have access to one to sell on Discord 100%. Other social medias are fantastic as well, like Telegram and Twitter, Reddit, and Discord is a must-have. And also as well then, what can happen is, as these things happen around you, somebody might win one of them as a reward. You know, if you've got a number one goalkeeper who's just been demoted to number two, you know, reasons aside, we'll come to that in a second, and then somebody wins that as a reward, they realise this, they're going to be pretty annoyed and probably want to sell it quite quickly for as much ETH as possible. That's an opportunity you're looking to execute upon. Sometimes those guys are very reasonable sellers and they're just happy to get something in quickly, forget about the guy and move on. These predictable opportunities also have predictable routes to access the card target in question, which the converse is true as well. You know, like if the guy absolutely takes off, hits out L5s every week, you know, every month, like you wouldn't believe, is top in leaderboards, is the captain of your team, bagging you tons of prizes. That's when it becomes a question of, is it an entry point? Is this guy for here now forever? Or is this an exit point? Is this the peak of this guy's powers? Is this as high as L5 is ever going to be for the next 6 months, 3 months, a year, 3 years, whatever scale you're playing on? Or is this just the beginning of things to come? Is this an exit point or an entry point? And if you're not thinking about exit and entry point when you're buying the card or selling it, it's going to be really difficult for you to make clinical decisions in these opportunity situations, whether it's a card you're holding. You know, if this is a card that you're holding and they get injured or they get dropped from number 1 to number 2, you need to understand the paradigms that are also going on with that target that's in your club that you're looking to sell. You know, the guy is now a depreciative asset. Other people are now having to buy. You're basically selling time to someone. You know, you're saying, listen, I'll give you this guy at a discount. One day is going to come good. Me and you both know that, but I'm selling you time, or I'm buying time back. You know, just give me the ETH, whatever it's available, and you're going to go do something else. So it's important that you understand both sides of the table, because you will be sitting on both sides of the table maybe more often than you realize. The next part of this market matrix is demand. Okay, now demand is a very widespread thing, okay, across the platform, whether it be for just scarcity, limited rare, whatever. But each individual card, each individual player has their own demand metric going on. Unquestionably, the household names have always got viewing audience, they've always got a market, they've always got a demand. The lesser known, the rural territory players, these guys' demand fluctuates card to card, such wide variety that you need to understand that when you're going into these cards. Is from the outsider going into the Brazilian division, a midfielder that scores about 50 is the same as any other midfielder that scores about 50. For me, going into the Argentinian league and picking up a striker that scores about 45 is the exact same as any other striker that scores about 45. I don't really care if the guy's a league winner. I don't really care if the guy's like a club hero or anything like that. It doesn't mean anything to me as an outsider looking into those guys, you know. But the biggest names in world football are always the biggest names in world football, and they're always going to have that audience. Now, that's not just true for the biggest names in the world, but it's also true for the guys that have got very strong real world presence. You know, the guys that are at the top clubs, the guys are the wonder kids that we all have faith in and we all look forward to watching over the coming years. These guys have an audience as well. These guys have people that are always looking to buy doubles and trebles of, as well as buying opportunities when they become cheaper, because a lot of these cards, because they are so high profile, equally when they're not operating at the top level, the demand wanes to such an extent because they are so expensive that the price can be quite a drastic change, quite a shift down in Champion Europe is something you find happens quite often. And those opportunities can be great to come in, and equally it's those circumstances you need to be aware of if you're ever thinking about exiting. What will also play a part in the demand is the variety and the utility that you can get out of a card. So as we all kind of know, it's very public at this point that there's very few U23 goalkeepers going forward for the next year, basically, unless there's a lot of recent promotions in clubs across Europe over the coming months and year. There's also a lack of U23s in certain positions in different regions as well, so you have to be aware of, as calendars interlink and then when they separate, that there becomes different availability on different key positions in different key leagues and different key situations, and those demand fluctuations will spike and crash prices throughout the year. You know, if it is something that is widely scarcer now, like a U23 goalkeeper, but then all of a sudden, you know, Japan comes on and there's 3 or 4, and America comes in, there's maybe 1 or 2, and in South America there's maybe 1 or 2. You go from having 4 or 5 to having 10, 11, 12. And when you're looking at the target, when you're looking at the opportunity, you know, the base element here, how vibrant is the market when you're reading the demand? Is it a high demand time? Has the guy got a really good L5? Has he just got a big transfer? Has the demand just recently increased? It's something you need to be aware of. Is the demand just went up or has it just went down? What is the demand like for this guy at the moment? And if it's always quite vibrant, then it's a good market to be involved in, because you know there's always buyers and sellers for this card, for this player, and no matter what circumstances do come around, there's a vibrant market for you to enter in that sense. That's my kind of point with the rural players, is sometimes when circumstances go against you, that market's not as vibrant, and sometimes you're kind of then stuck with something that you just really need to bite the bullet on and bide your time with, which is fine, and I've done it plenty. You might not be up for doing that. Of course, you want to buy cards ideally at low demand points. The reason for that is when the demand is low, it becomes a buyer's market. Now, if you're going into a buyer's market when the demand is low, it's not a case of really you can name your price, because you still need to make nice with the people selling and it needs to be a fair deal for all involved for the deal to be accepted, of course. But when it is a buyer's market, you do need to understand that and carry yourself appropriately. If it is a buyer's market, if you monitor a card for a week or two, you'll find out very quickly who's in control of the negotiation, if it's the seller or the buyer. If cards are going on the market and they're sitting there for a day or two and they're getting sold fairly around market price, what they're getting listed for, then you know it's pretty much a seller's market. If you notice in cards are getting listed and then no one's buying and then the price is getting a haircut and getting a haircut and getting a haircut, then it's very much a buyer's market. There's not that many offers coming in, and all these guys are trying to move their price down to find where the market comes in for them. Where does the bite come in? When does that guy get to a price where people are like, oh, didn't realize that goalkeeper was going for 0.4 or whatever it is, and then that's when the demand for the player then kicks back in. So the low demand might be down to the high pricing, but also it can be down to the situation, a bad L5, an injury, a bad transfer. They're a wonder kids. They're just always on the bench. They always come off the bench, but they never quite kick on. You know, those guys can go through periods of low demand as well, just because they're hyped. Hype can get boring, you know, and if you're holding a lot of hype and you're not getting a lot of traction, that can get pretty dull pretty quick. And sometimes those people get bored, they get anxious, they get nervous, and maybe they want to sell some of their hype and go get some solid steady eddies that are going to perform every week. And sometimes what you'll probably quite find is there's a fair, especially good SO5, Champ Euro, high performing cards, maybe even U23s as well, that have got, you probably describe their market as quite stable, you know, like it doesn't really go mental, peaks and troughs, it's relatively controlled, you know, and that can be a very encouraging market as well, because even though like you maybe not expecting to get into a card at a really low point and then go and quadruple your money or whatever, getting in at a decent place and knowing that all the holders, you know, there's not many cards that do change hands, and when they do, they're all around the same kind of price range and have been for an extended period of time, then you can move into a market like that. And I say market, I mean this one card with a good degree of certainty then, you know, of what you're moving into. If a card's quite new to the platform, doesn't have that many owners, doesn't have that much of a track record in SO5, and doesn't really have much of an opinion or a profile, you know, to kind of go on, then those ones can be real dice rolls. And if you don't really know what you're buying into, sometimes those are the ones, especially when you get them too early, that can backfire on you. And equally, when you can see the demand is nice and high, of course, it's a seller's market. When the demand is there, everyone's after. The supply of the cards, of course, we all know what the limitations and the quantities are at this point. But it very much, you know, when the demand is high, it's a great time for you to be selling when the prices are up at, you know, the kind of points where you find them attractive and appealing. But what is an attractive and appealing price? That all really depends on your entry point and what your plan, your design was for your exit plan that you laid out when you bought the card. And then the last part of this is currency fluctuations, okay? Now, the obvious one is your native currency versus Ethereum, okay? But no matter where you are in the world, I would always make sure you're aware of the Ethereum to USD price. The reason for that is the financial world uses USD as the benchmark for all the kind of landmarks that Ethereum pricing, Bitcoin pricing, whatever does, you know, like Bitcoin's got to 50,000, it's always dollars, it's not pounds or euros. Always be aware, because I previously had a wee bit of an opportunity where the dollar to Great British Pound had a wee bit of a fluctuation, and it ended up being that my ETH became worth more money. I can't really remember the details around it, but it's definitely something to be mindful of and, you know, pay attention to. But any distinct movements we get with Ethereum, whether it be up or down, are going to make massive repercussions on the strength of your wallet, the value of your gallery, and the value of any cards that you're looking to buy or sell in the market. And you need to be fully aware of the repercussions of that. If ETH is running away, it's on a bull run and it's spiking up all-time highs and everyone's talking about it, then it can be a wee bit worrisome and scary to sell something, because you're thinking, crap, like, number one, what if I sell it for X amount and then ETH is something, maybe it's an all-time high? So what you often expect after these big breakouts is a regression, you know, a callback. And all that uncertainty can kind of unfold around that as well as when it's in a bear market and the market's coming down. People can go through the exact same emotions and uncertainty in either situation. Now, if you have an Ethereum wallet and Ethereum is going down or up, no matter what's kind of going on, and you are looking at your wallet and you're thinking, oh wow, my Ethereum is now worth much more or much less, there's two situations that are going to unfold. You potentially can now get something in the market for a price that you really should be able to get it for a short period of time. Because with Ethereum, what you've always got to remember when you're dealing in the market as well, especially the secondary market, especially when you're in direct messaging with people, is people have all sorts of valuations for their Ethereum. They also have all sorts of valuations for their cards. These rapid fluctuations can skew things so much that it maybe brings you closer to negotiation that you were previously really far away from. Or equally, you need to be aware of the fact that it might be doing the opposite. You might have been really close to closing a deal with a guy and then he wakes up and ETH's halved in price, doubled in price, and then things have changed dramatically. So the ideal situation of all this, of course, is you're going to go out and buy a card. You've done the research, you know the guy, he's the opportunities came around, he's got injured, the hype has died down, he's transferred, whatever. You know the guy's a predictable opportunity. The demand is also low. People aren't really looking at him. People aren't really too worried about him. And then Ethereum makes some sort of fluctuation that's in your favor, up or down. Could be either or. And that's the guy you go out and you buy. Equally, the converse is absolutely true. The absolute best time to sell is when you've got that target in your club and you're like, do you know what? I'm ready to release this guy. I don't really need him anymore for SO5, or I've held on to him for a wee bit too long. I was waiting for him to get in the team. He's killing it now. Job done. Where is the demand at? The demand is nice and high. I can sell them in the market. I'll be able to entertain plenty of offers. Maybe I'll get some interesting trade plus ETH offers. Maybe I'll just get some big ETH offers. The world is my oyster. It's a seller's market. And then also, Ethereum has done some sort of fluctuation that is of benefit to me doing this trade at this time. That is the opportune time to sell. At every point, there's going to be different levels of those variables playing a part in all the transactions you make on Sorare. And all you're trying to do is work out exactly whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. And with these three things, that's exactly what you're doing at every stage of the game, guys. Thanks very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. On screen now is some other videos you might enjoy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and retweet. And I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.